Well, happy Friday to you. We've made it just about at least to our big holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. It has been a very busy week for the tropics, but I'm here to let you know exactly what's going on out there as we get closer and closer to the peak of hurricane season, which is right around September 10th. Of course, earlier this week, we had a major hurricane make landfall in the U.S., and the name was Hurricane Idalia. Idalia is now out in the Atlantic, and it has become post-tropical. As it pushed away from the Carolinas, it kind of lost those tropical characteristics and kind of became elongated instead of that more classic circular structure that we normally see with these tropical systems. So it is still post-tropical, but this is kind of interesting. It is actually expected to try to regain that tropical storm status as it gets very close to Bermuda this weekend. It likely will pass just to the south of Bermuda as we go into Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, and it is expected to kind of flip back into a tropical storm. So for that reason, tropical storm warnings are now out for Bermuda for this weekend, where they could experience some tropical storm force winds, maybe 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, and also the potential for heavy rain, of course, big surf, lots of rip currents, everything that comes along with a tropical storm. It's not going to be a direct landfall, but it is going to pass just to the south of Bermuda on Saturday and then roll just to the east and then northeast of Bermuda as we go into Sunday. After that, it is expected to push north into cooler water, and it will likely once again lose the tropical characteristics. But at this point, Idalia is still maintaining winds of 50 miles per hour, and it is expected to strengthen to a 60 mile per hour tropical storm once it regains those tropical characteristics by Saturday and Sunday. Movement currently to the east-southeast at 15 miles per hour, and that pressure up to 1,000 millibars. So that is what's left of Idalia. Still could pose a threat to folks in Bermuda this weekend. We also have Franklin, which at one point over the last week was close to a Category 5 hurricane. That's as bad as it gets. It was a strong Category 4, but it's been gradually weakening since then. And as of the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, Franklin is now a post-tropical cyclone, but it still has some pretty powerful winds with it. Winds around 80 miles per hour and movement to the northeast fairly quickly around 17 miles per hour. Pressure at 979 millibars. Now, Franklin, when it was still a hurricane, brushed by Bermuda. There were tropical storm warnings out for Franklin when it got close to Bermuda earlier this week around Wednesday, but it is now moving further and further away from Bermuda. It's pushing into the northern section of the Atlantic, where that water is going to be much colder. So it has already become post-tropical, and it will continue to gradually weaken as we go through this weekend, and especially by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. It looks like it will hold together, but the forecast calls for that gradual weakening, and it is not expected to make any additional landfalls at this point. So we've got post-tropical cyclone Idalia, we've got post-tropical cyclone Franklin, and you would think, hey, maybe that's all we have out there in the Atlantic Basin, but that is not what you need to be thinking, because look at this. We've got several systems that we are tracking. This is the busiest it's been all season long. We've got Franklin here, Idalia, but now we have Tropical Storm Jose, Tropical Storm Gert, Tropical Depression number 12, and another area expected to roll off the west coast of Africa that could develop into an additional tropical depression or tropical storm. So things are going crazy out in the Atlantic right now. The good news, though, none of these systems will be impacting the U.S. anytime soon. Of course, Franklin and Idalia are moving away from the U.S. Tropical Storm Jose and Tropical Storm Gert are not expected to head west and potentially impact the U.S. And of course, we'll have to watch and see what Tropical Depression 12 and this next disturbance coming off the west coast of Africa will do. But it will be several days before they would even have any shot to impact any parts of the U.S. So let's go back to Tropical Storm Jose. It is in the central Atlantic, but the models are indicating that it's actually going to get sucked up or absorbed by what's left of post-tropical cyclone Franklin. So that will kind of make that one fall apart. And I think a similar thing will happen to Tropical Storm Gert. It is getting close to Idalia, and models are kind of indicating that Tropical Storm Gert will lose those tropical characteristics over the next few days and likely get absorbed by Idalia. So we've got one tropical system eating the other ones up. So hey, I don't mind as long as we get rid of them and they don't head our way. That is good news. Now, let's move over to tropical depression number 12. It is a little bit farther out into the Atlantic, and it could develop into tropical depression, or excuse me, tropical storm Katia as we go into the next couple of days. It is drifting off to the north, and it could develop into a tropical storm, but the models are indicating that it too will likely become extratropical over the next 2 to 3 days and not get anywhere close to the U.S. So really the only one that we'll have to monitor to see whether or not it can make it across the Atlantic and cause some problems for us here in Southeast Texas or other portions of the U.S. will be this disturbance coming off of the west coast of Africa. There's a 0% shot for development for this over the next 48 hours, but over the next week or so, there's a 50% chance for this thing developing, and it could turn into another tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane. But we've got several days to monitor it, so of course we will keep you updated on what happens with that latest tropical wave. But things are certainly cranking out there, super active. We've had a very busy week. Of course, we've had Idalia make landfall as a major hurricane in the U.S., and now we have Tropical Storm Jose out in the central Atlantic, and we could have Tropical Storm Katia by this weekend, and maybe even Tropical Storm Lee, depending on what that next disturbance does. So we are quickly making our way down this second panel of names. We've still got one more to go, but hopefully we won't get through too many more of these. But of course, this is typically the most active period of our hurricane season. So things are kind of panning out with what the forecasts were calling for. That forecast update from the Colorado State University forecasters close to a month ago called for about 18 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes for the 2023 hurricane season. That, of course, is above our average 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. And those sea surface temperatures out there are still super warm, so these systems can pop up, develop, and strengthen quickly. So we definitely will be watching all of those storms that we have out there now, all of the potential disturbances, and we will, of course, track it and keep you updated. But we are now into the first day of September, and of course that peak of hurricane season right around September 10th. So we are here. We've still got to get through the peak, and it still could be very active all the way through September, even into the first half of October, before things hopefully will start to calm down. So we've been spared so far here in Southeast Texas. No tropical issues so far this season, and let's try to keep it that way. Hopefully that will remain, but of course we know those systems can pop up quickly, so it's always a great idea to be prepared so you don't have to jump up and try to rush and prepare at the last minute, just in case we do get a tropical storm or hurricane headed our way. But for now, things are looking good. Our rain chances are going up for the holiday weekend, but nothing of a tropical variety expected to move our way. If you want to keep up with the weather for the holiday weekend or what's happening in the tropics, if you haven't already, make sure to head to the App Store, search for Fox 26, and grab our Fox 26 weather app. Lots to see, lots to do there, but more importantly, you can stay safe and you can get all of the potential severe weather alerts, watches, warnings, advisories that will come out locally for the area, and really anywhere where you want to get advisories, you can get those too. So make sure to grab that. Very good thing to have on your phone, especially if you're going to be out and about, maybe at the pool, at the beach for the holiday weekend. You may not be in front of a television, so you can always know what's going on. Well, that is your tropical update for this Friday, September 1st. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. Have a great weekend.